Do you have superpowers? And were you born with them or did you develop them?
I do have a superpower that I now know I was born with, and I've passed on to at least one of my daughters, which is empathy, just deep, deep empathy. And I used to think that it made me weak because I sort of can walk into a room and feel the energy and be affected by it. And it's been far and away the greatest superpower in business, because my ability to connect with someone and really get to the root of what motivates them helps me every single day in getting from point A to point B 2 times faster. Not because I always have an agenda, but just because I often find when you can understand where somebody's coming from, you really can get to the solution 2, 3, 10x faster.
Right. Yep.
So, a superpower. So it's funny. What comes to mind is that I was a lacrosse goalie in college, which meant that I had to get used to people throwing things at my head and not flinching. And it turns out that learning that skill is very helpful as an entrepreneur, because
This is a challenge. Like
things are being thrown at me.
One of you needs to throw something at Sarah.
That's all right. But beyond that, I think one of the things that I've relied on in my career is ability to pick good teammates, and whether that's my co-founders or the folks on my team, investors, I think I have a pretty good eye for who makes a good teammate and how we can complement each other, and that I think is essential in the entrepreneurial journey.
I don't know if this is a superpower, but I think I'm really good glue. And so what I mean by that is that, so Jeff Busgang, he's a successful investor. They wrote a case about us at Harvard Business School, and he was teaching it, and I went and introduced myself. He's like, oh my God, I'm so glad to meet you. You're the glue. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, you're the one that holds everything together within the company. And I was like, you're right, that's exactly what I am. And if I could change my LinkedIn profile to say like glue, I would, but I think that would confuse a lot of people, so I haven't. But you know, when you're building companies, I try and surround myself with people who are smarter than me, so people who are the best engineers or the best visionary or the best strategy, but you need someone to hold it all together and make it happen. And that's what I'm really good at. And I think part of it is being a middle child. I have an older sister and a younger sister who have really strong personalities, and so I was always kind of the diplomat a little bit in the family.
I wanted to turn it over to probably one question from the audience, but I just have to ask a follow-on to that, which is, you know, being a female in a land of largely male founders and chief executives, is your superpower something that you had to convince people that you had over time, or was it always obvious to everyone that you work with that you were just this like badass unicorn lady?
It wasn't something that came naturally, and I don't feel like I had to convince anyone. I really just had to convince myself. That sounds so cheesy, but it's true. And you know, it's something that happened over time, and I was just doing myself a disservice by not owning my badassery, if you will.
Nice.
So I was lucky that I started NextDoor with someone who I'd worked with for now 15 years, and so I suspect part of the reason that we were drawn to each other was that he kind of knew my badassery, if you will.